No.
You know who's not going to be sandbagging? EndersJ pulling out the Cervantes. Going to be
Ooh, with the Starfield cloak.
Great IGDR whip punish. One thing about EndersJ is he likes to go and bait out for these IGDR whip punishes. As he's backing up, he is already buffering the first part of the input, so if he sees a whip, he's going to be pulling the trigger on that, and he's very, very good at it.
Yeah, not to. I mean, it's a very Street Fighter-y kind of thing to do, where you're constantly buffering either a parry or the 60% of a Shoryuken motion, and then you're just going to complete it with the button once you actually can confirm that movement is happening.
Yeah, it's a very good thing. A lot of Cervantes players go for a great throw on stuff from Indenyal, gets the low, and evening up the life bar really, really close. Could be no.
That's about as unsafe as Tira can be without whipping. So yeah, definitely a super lame match if they want to do it. I mean, speaking of really good backdashes, Tira used to have the best backdash in the game, and pretty heavy damage on this as well.
Nice throw attempt from EndersJ, going to be backing up the space. The space control is very, very in EndersJ's favor right now. Going to get the full 1A5B.
That was like, what was that, like 55% life?
Oh, it was a big grip of damage.
Yeah.
Backing up right now. I like this from Enders. He doesn't really need to take any big risks. Throw attempt from Indenyal going to be working through, and it's pretty close in this round right now. We're able to take it back in just that one quick sequence.
Yeah, Indenyal definitely good at making her offensive pressure awkward, so I think okay, well, got hit by the online kind of low, but the Evo 2020 kind of low. And I do want to mention that it seems like what Enders wanted to do is like, okay, I'm going to be aggressive initially, and then once I have a life lead, I'm going to try and match Tira's ability to camp. But then the pressure that Indenyal was able to do was awkward enough that Enders didn't know what was going on, and he was so successful with the pressure that it looks like he just decided, well, why don't I just go with full offensive pressure?
Two able to beat coming up from Enders. Oh, the sidestep on there. Great call up from Enders. Gonna spend the CE, get his max damage here, and build towards 2 more gunshots as well.
Wasn't this like... Okay, never mind. I thought this was going to be game. I'm wondering if he's just going to spend the bar to try and end it right here, right now.
Maybe.
Ooh, that's a heavy whiff.
Oh, but the RNG not in her favor. Enders. Oh, this is gonna whip on
enough time? No. Close. But there was no cigar.
It was, in fact, not a cigar.
So it is important to note that I would strongly suggest the Tira player to not pick the same stage, because due to the outfit that Enders is using, he'll definitely have a big advantage if they end up going on the boat and he has to navigate. 1, because he's a pirate, and 2, because he has the stars on his cloak. You definitely don't want to allow any kind of advantage, superficial or otherwise, when you're playing in a tournament.
So are you trying to tell me, Jay, that there is a cosmetic benefit to the patriotism is powering EndersJ right now? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Oh, for sure. Just navigationally. I mean, think about the amount of knowledge in terms of astronomical. What's the astronomy version of that word that I'm trying to say? You know what I'm talking about? It can't be astronomical because that means big, right?
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, I don't know. I don't think anyone's ever used it in that context.
That's actually the same word.
It's the same word. It just has 2 different definitions.
Well, so they're kind of the same definition. Well, one is what's it called? Euphemism? There you go.
Oh, I don't think I actually knew that. Kind of like maybe I thought, kind of like how I knew that that could have been a potential ring up, but it decided not to.
Yeah, he went for the 6K and said maybe he didn't feel confident on the secondary wall splat. Because sometimes it can be inconsistent, like against some of the smaller characters in the game.
So I would say that this is probably not as good for the Tira player. I think even though both of these characters can camp relatively well, especially with the fact that Indenyal's getting hit by the Evo 2020 low, it's going to be a situation where I feel like the aggression that Enders is able to pull out is being a little bit more successful than the Tira's. But she's proving me wrong right now.
Oh, but the counter hit on the 2-2-AA, gonna give him 2 gunshots. Going with the 1-9 again, making a lot of work out of those with the tippy toes on the range.
Wow, she got like her foot stomped on and didn't have to deal with the sword hitbox of that jumping move.
I really like the IEDR from EndersJ on the throw whiff. That is something that he's been working on to kind of up his game and get a little bit more damage on those throw punishes, more than just the wall rising A.
So yeah, at this point, in terms of like that Boom and League that I was talking about, if Partisan is watching or anybody else that's on Indenyal's team, probably best to have some labbing on some of these lows that Cervantes has that are not necessarily as powerful as this match might be making them out to be. Is that diplomatic enough? I think so.
Oh, the 3 people play gonna get the knockdown, building towards the gunshots again, and the 1A is just coming in.
Yeah, that's been about like 70% of the amount of damage that, and it's like working, but kind of like also not working because he's still losing rounds. So
yeah, the 1D though is a great tool from Tira. It's a standing low, so it's gonna be a little bit hard to acknowledge when it does happen.
It's interesting that he started to, instead of going for the low, going for the grab, even though both of them have the same answer. Ooh, very interesting. I have a tough time believing he actually wanted that grab.
Yeah, it could have been a missed input, but I'm not sure what he would have.
Yeah, I don't know.
But Indenyal looking very strong despite having the unfavorable positioning.
Yeah, has to make sure he's not going to potentially get wrung out here. It's going to be pretty easy, pretty difficult. Just blocking it out, not trying to sidestep it. I can appreciate given the conditions. And we just got, is that going to be, no, it's not going to be a CE, but it is going to be a heavy amount of damage. But she is in, oh, what's this stance called again?
Coda.
Coda, yeah, she did get Coda, which is very important.
Yeah, the recognition on the string, knowing that it's a high, gets the IGDR, which is, again, showing Ender's progress, working towards the IGDRs from Fred. A very important thing as a Cervantes player to add to your kit.
Right back into Jolly. Unfortunately, pretty bad stage positioning. Ends up getting a little bit of a wall combo / pressure. Ends up going into Soul Charge, which I definitely appreciate. So we're going to match Soul Charge for Soul Charge. He is next to some walls, so Enders might be able to pull off some wall shenanigans, but instead he's decided to shoot his opponent in the face.
Yeah, the A6B is
oh, there it is.
Face denial tool. Ooh, try to bait the re-GI bit. So, untackable throw here in one of the characters where the combo works on, but the double gunshot for whatever reason whiffing there. That was very, very strange, but there's that IGDR whiff punch we talked about earlier from EndersJ. He is so on point with those.
Yeah, I really feel like what should have happened was I did really appreciate the fact that Indenyal respected the post like GI situation and not providing Enders with a huge amount of damage off of potential break attack, but at the same time I really wish that after that, I mean, you had Coda, you had an unbreakable grab, you had meter. I feel like maybe trying to exert some sort of offensive pressure would have been the best plan of attack at that point.